as organizations build hyper-connected ecosystems, is creating a culture which provides for the human capital that is getting impacted by that technology.
I have a 5-year-old who's never really been to school. His idea of school is the iPad, and he's just so intuitive in the way he uses technology. It's not something that's external to him.
The hottest key opinion leader in the beauty space in China, with some 500,000 followers, is not a lady, is a digital avatar. Create experience in a service industry with people when the variability of the human being is so high, is that human being behind the technology is not glued on that day, you have a lousy experience and an experience with no redo. How do you combine good technology, good people is a better combination than a great person or a great technology. Using 20% laws with a 99% accuracy. Much better than a young intern lawyer student who probably is running at 70% accuracy. Is there a future for a young intern law student who the basic case is not required? The world is now in science, technology, engineering, arts and math. From STEM is becoming STEAM, and that's the new buzzword. How do you then combine the fuzzy thinking of a human being with the linear thinking of a tech guy? Imagine you were a store manager, apparel store, and the SOP of the store was that after you finish the day, you shut down the store, take all the apparel, your stocks, your merchandise, and leave it outside the store. And next morning when you come back, you expect the store manager to come open up the store, take all the stock and keep it up for display again. That would be an extremely strict SOP of a store. I come from Enrich, and that's exactly what we do every day. Every day after I shut down my store, my clothes, my merchandise are people. And they go home. And the store manager next morning has to do up the store, bring back the merchandise, bring back my technicians as they call them, and put them up for display. A brand is built by consistency. But here, if I'm buying this, I come from a business where I'm dealing with people. I might do the best recruitment, the best training, the best onboarding, but the asset, the merchandise that I sent home last night and the one who came back next morning could be two different people. You had a fight with the mother-in-law, you had a fight with the author. But I've been, romantically looking forward to something happened. What happened in the 12 hours in interim? On top of that, you might be physically present, but she could be just mentally somewhere else. Create experience in a service industry with people when the variability of the human being is so high. Advise the wrong shirt, I can exchange it. In my business, I can't do that. If I cut this lovely lady's hair thinking of something else, you can take me to Supreme Court, I can't do a thing for 4 months. I just said, whether I was thinking of my girlfriend, whatever. And that's the danger of our business, and that's the fun of the business. A lot of companies believe if you process it out, a business can be scalable. We at Enrich believe the same, that if you process out, get people in place, get process in place, get a lot of technology in place, it will grow fast. But once we realize that it is people who are the main guys, I can have the best technology. We have iPads in the store, we have AR in the store, we have augmented reality, we have try-on makeup, all the fancy stuff we have. But is that human being behind the technology, very similar to what the earlier speaker said, is that human being behind the technology is not glued on that day, you have a lousy experience. And an experience with no redo. I cannot rework certain parts of my business. The entire challenge in Enrich has been, and I'll tell you how it's going to affect a lot of our industries. How do you combine good technology, good people, is a better combination than a great person or a great technology. How do you really mix and match the two of them? How do you create a process but with a soul in it? The human touch, somebody said voice. Exactly. While technology was very transactional, was very linear, by attaching the human touch to it, by attaching the voice to it, is going to transform things. The new education policy that just came out a few months ago talks something similar. It talks of the fact that while India was so strongly focused, and some of us as parents are strongly focused, the child must do, traditional stuff of engineering, maths and things like that. Today, if you read the new education policy, there's a lot of stuff of sociology, philosophy, psychology being coming at a class 6, class 7, class 8 level. Because ultimately the technology has to have a human touch. And that is what is happening. If you know about Steve Jobs, okay, all the stories we have heard about how he drifted into class in calligraphy design or a design, and his element of design brought and changed the technology. The people who are hardcore acolytes of Apple swear by it because it's such a beautiful product. It is a human touch. If you ever delete something in an Apple Mac, he was the one who introduced to put it in a waste paper basket, and that's the human touch. You don't press a D for delete. If you enter a wrong password, you see what happens in an OS of Google versus this. In the Apple OS, if you put a wrong password, that box shakes its head. And that is so intuitively done. So that's exactly what across the world we'll say, no, that's the wrong thing to do. And I love those small elements of design and touch. Users of Ola, and I mentioned Ola scooters, okay? We're all users of Ola or Uber or Swiggy, whatever. Why do you realize, right? You tend to have a favorite app. And even though the technology is very similar, there is something that connects you to that app. It is that human interface that is related to you. If you were dealing with a millennial, you'll probably have a very different look and feel. And you're all the marketing guys here. And that is what is coming up everywhere, I notice. How do you then ensure that whatever you do has a right mix, the human touch of technology with the soul, of process with the soul? I bumped into somebody, a lawyer in the High Court, and he told me something very interesting. He told me, like any other business, 80% of the cases are solved by 20% of the laws. And I never even thought of it that way. Today there is software available that solves a legal case, 80% of the cases using NLP, using 20% of the laws with a 99% accuracy. Much better than a young intern lawyer student who probably is running at 70% accuracy. Is there a future for a young intern law student who the basic case is not required? And that was shocking to me. I didn't even realize it is hitting that business so much. Then I went back and did some more exploration. Journalism, take a bunch of news feeds and the software then creates a story. But sure, the human touch makes it relatable to you contextually. In my business, there's a lot of social media influencers, right? These influencers what the young generation follows. I was reading about this week, I think, an article, a top influencer now in China, and they call them KOL, key opinion leaders, like the way we call them influencers. The hottest key opinion leader in the beauty space in China, with some 500,000 followers, is not a lady, is a digital avatar. Interestingly, it's imperfect. It is like a human being, digital. It has imperfections. It's not the well-made up, glamorous lady that we all used to. It is an imperfect, but hence more human, hence relating to that. And that is what brings the whole thing together. We all know STEM, okay, science, technology, engineering, and math. But the world is changing. The world is now just science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. From STEM is becoming STEAM, and that's the new buzzword. How do you combine? Technology is there, it's ruling. A lot of transactional stuff will get automated. We have AI and ML and RPA and all this stuff. But some parts will be automatable, for want of a word. But some part will always be judgmental. And the judgmental is where the human being is going to be. How do you then look forward to ensuring that in your respective organizations, there is technology but with a soul. There is a process but the human touch. There is a soft skill and the hard skills combined. There is the heart and the brain both connected. How do you ensure that the team that you have not only thinks black and white, but because you're dealing with humans now, there's a bunch of grays in between. How do you then combine the fuzzy thinking of a human being with the linear thinking of a tech guy? Because that, I believe, is the future.